Greetings, ladies and gentlefish. This video is going to be very quick. It is just because someone, I cannot remember who now, but in one of the videos they asked to see my settings. I assume they mean game settings, so I'm going to show you my game settings in case anyone is interested. You can also see, just before we move on, that I've finally got the FV4202P, ta-da, from the marathon, and I have issues with this visually, but more on that in another video. Basically, I'm not going to play it until patch 9.14, when apparently there is a buff coming, because this thing is a god-awful piece of garbage. Anyway, yes, so, settings. Boom. I'm just going to go through each of the panels. So, I typically run the World of Tanks client completely vanilla, no mods. I have all of the random battle types enabled because I like the variety. Checkboxes, display time in messages, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. I don't have the censor offensive words in chat messages. You know, if it comes up with stars instead of the actual word, I'm no more or less offended, but that's a personal thing. The one thing I would note is accept invitations in platoon in battle. You want that one checked so that you can form dynamic platoons if you have interest in doing so. And where it's got accept invitations from friends in garage, this is a badly worded checkbox. What that means is only accept invitations from friends only in the garage. If you have that box checked, you will automatically decline invitations from people who are not in your friends list. This can be awkward if you're trying to accept platoon invitations from clanmates, for example. They may not, strictly speaking, be on your friends list, but you want to accept their invitations, so I don't have that checked. Minimap transparency I have set right the way down at the bottom so that I get a solid minimap. The reason for that is that I have quite a dodgy monitor resolution, so I can't make the minimap any bigger. You know, you want to make it as big as you can, but I physically can't without installing XVM, and so I have it solid rather than transparent or translucent so that I can actually see it. Don't know why that's set to never, that should be set to always. So there's that, and you have to bear in mind, sorry about that in the background, and there's another one. So you have to bear in mind that most of my settings are going to be geared towards trying to be economical with screen real estate, really, with screen space. You can see all these checkboxes if you're interested in them. Pause the video here. I'm not going to highlight them all. I have the extended minimap features always on. So that's last known position, the direction in which you're looking, basically. And I believe from patch 9.14 it will also include the view range, render range, circles, and all that jazz. Finally. I also have the marks of excellence turned on because I can, and obviously I have enable battle recordings on all because, well, I do YouTubes. Graphics, it's set to custom, but I actually have it on medium, but if you put it on medium it defaults one or two of the other settings. I have it windowed rather than full screen mode because, as you can see there, my monitor resolution is kind of funky, and so if I full screen it, all the tanks suddenly look like they're really fat. So I have it in windowed mode. Don't have dynamic field of view. I have colorblind mode turned on. I mean, all of these are just the standard settings from the medium. Actually, I need to turn draw distance all the way up. For the medium graphics setting. Now, quick note on that, I have medium rather than high or anything like that, because whilst my computer is perfectly happy running it, there seems to be in some patches some weird thing in the game that means sometimes the game crashes if I have it set to more than, or it crashes more frequently if I have it set to more than medium. For some patches, but not all patches, it's a bit weird. So I have it set on medium by default, colorblind mode turned on, although that's a bit buggy. You want, just to quickly note some of these parameters, you want, even if you're running it on a completely potato machine, you want terrain quality not set down at the very minimum, because then the shape of the actual terrain doesn't always match up with what you see, and so you can get shots go into hitboxes that you think shouldn't be there and all that jazz. You also want draw distance turned all the way up so that you can see all of the things, basically. You also want to enable foliage transparency. That means the bush goes transparent when there is a small enough distance between you and the bush that firing the gun will make the bush camo go down. Basically, I hope you understood what I meant there. Sound quality, nothing particularly unusual here. I mean, feel free to have a quick look at that. I have national voices because I like them. Controls, nothing special. The only thing to really note here is that I have my consumable slot number 6, which is where I put my fire extinguisher. I have that remapped to the spacebar rather than the number 6 key, because the number 6 key is awkward to reach and the spacebar is right under my left thumb. If I'm using the WASD keys, you know, spacebar is right there, so that makes it much faster to use the manual fire extinguisher. So I would recommend that. Makes your life a lot easier. Apart from that, it's all the standard stuff. Reticles and markers, again, this is done to sort of... I don't like these cluttered heads-up displays. I like it to be simple, straightforward, and to the point. So, indicator, radial, I don't have all of this rubbish because you don't need it. It shows, you know, you can get a little health bar around the reticle. I don't need that. I've got my health in the bottom left of the screen. Central marker, aim point 1, simple, it's just a dot. Again, I don't have this loader setting thing, screw that. Condition, I don't have that, screw that. Dispersion indicator, that's just the ring around your aiming point. That is generally a good idea to have because then you can see how big your aiming circle is, and I do think that is actually useful to have. Gun marker, aim point 1, so aim point again, but with armor penetration indicator, meaning that it will go red, or if you're on colorblind mode, blue, if you hover over an area of armor that you shouldn't be able to penetrate, basically. It can be useful from time to time. Containers I have turned on because that, of course, shows you if you're running like an autocannon or an autoloader, shows you how many shells you've got left in the magazine. And loading timer I have turned on, although there's a bug in the replay system and there has for a while, so that doesn't show up in your replays. It's nice to see how long you've got left on your reload. Sniper set to exactly the same, so there's no difference between these two. Marker, tank markers. I don't see any point showing the vehicle icon. I don't need a little picture of the tank. So I have it to show the vehicle tier, the vehicle model, the player's name, the health indicator, and I have the vehicle health set to HP left out of total rather than percentage, which is the default. I think it's more useful to know that that tiger over there has 1,000 health left rather than that tiger there over there has 67% of his health remaining, because that assumes that you know how much health a fully upgraded tiger has, or how much health a tiger has at max health, for example. You know, and if you don't need to carry those numbers around in your head, don't bother. I don't bother with any difference with the Alt key. I really don't see the point. If you set these values to be different, then pushing the Alt key will switch your display to those values, but I really don't see why you'd bother. There's our team, and destroyed, I have a lot of these. You know, I have fewer things turn up. I don't really care what it looks like once the tank's dead, because it's dead. Who cares? Who gives a monkeys? It's just dead. It's no longer taking any part in the battle, so screw it. Yeah, so there we go. They are my game settings, basically. So for those of you who may want to replicate them, and like I said, this is entirely vanilla. Why is that set to never? Always, honestly. This is entirely vanilla setup. No mods. So, for those of you who want... Well, I say no mods. At the moment, I do have XVM installed because of my little newbie experiment thing. But for the purposes of these game settings, the only difference that makes is that with XVM, I have that set to never, because otherwise you get superposition. You know, you get one minimap feature overlaid on another, and it starts getting messy. But you just have that set to always. And you're good. And that's it. They are my... They're my settings for the game. So, those of you who asked for it, I hope that's helpful. Yeah, go for it if you want a copy. If you don't, obviously don't. It's entirely up to you. So, I'll catch you in another video. Ciao, ciao.